Hi everyone, in this video I would like to introduce application context. Okay, it's very important. It forms the central part of the Spring application. Okay, let's get to the IDE. Yeah, so here I have set up a small application. It's a very simple thing which we have been discussing from the dependency injection video. So if you see here, we are actually creating user repository object and injecting into user service through the constructor, right? Because user service needs it to make a call. Okay, to get all the users from the user repository, it needs user repository. Okay, so and from the user repository we are getting all the users. Okay, so this is basically without Spring Framework we do like this, because this is a pattern we follow, because using this pattern we have some benefits, right? So that's why instead of creating the dependency in the application itself, I mean in the class itself, we are separating the objects creation and injecting the dependencies wherever required, right? So this is how we are following, right? So but this part in Spring Framework we don't do. Who will do? Spring will do it. So we need to provide some information to Spring Framework to create the objects and inject the dependencies wherever required. Okay, so how do we do it? So for that we have the concept of application context. So basically this part Spring will do it. Okay, how do we make it to do it? We will see now. Okay, if you see here we have, yeah, so anyway we need to get application context, but so far this is a plain Java application. We don't have any jar files or Maven dependencies into the place. So how to approach? So what is a basic dependency we require? So this is a Maven project. If you open this pom.xml, I don't have any dependencies. Okay, that means I have not added any Spring related jar files in the class path. Okay, so how can we get it? So the first step we have to do is application context, right? We need to get, so in order to get the application context we need the Maven dependency. So how we have to approach? So the first step what I would do is, first we have to search for the Spring context Maven dependency. Just to search like this. Okay, if you search like this, definitely you will get one link like this. Okay, so open that link. So here get the latest version. If you are developing from the scratch, or if you are learning now as a beginner, just take the latest version. Or you are already working in a real-time project, then definitely they might have used already one old version. Maybe if you have not upgraded, definitely they would be using some old version. That should be fine. Okay, but now for beginners, if you are learning along with me, just to click on the latest version. It will give the Maven dependency here, or you can also download the jar file. Okay, so since my project is a Maven project, so I am just copying this one. Okay, Spring context. Okay, just this one we need to add where we have to add in the pom.xml, right? So in the dependencies tag, within the dependencies we need to add this, right? Yes, done. So after doing this, here it is actually what it did, it downloaded the dependencies jar files and added here. If you observe here, these are all the jar files are added. Okay, no need to worry about what is this micrometer comments, micrometer observation, but anyway, just look at all these dependencies. It got added: Spring AOP, Spring Beans, Spring Context, Spring Core, Spring Expressions, Spring JCL. So if we use Spring Context, definitely internally it will be using Spring Core, Spring Expression, all these things. That's why these are all the dependent jar files. That's why Spring has downloaded. Spring Context has all these jar files. Okay, so this is good. So we have added. This is the first step, right? So now we will just import this one, application context. It is coming from the org.springframework.context, right? So application context. Okay, so okay, application context. So now what we will do, actually basically if you click on this application context, it is basically an interface. right? So we need to have implementation. What are the different types of implementations we have? So the first one, if we go, we have class path XML application context. Okay, just see this. This is one class path XML application context, right? Let's import this. Okay, and this constructor expects one XML file here. Okay, so we need to have one way to provide some kind of configuration to the Spring container that is nothing but application context. So here application context is nothing but IOC container. So if you have not gone through the video that is Spring IOC container, please go through that video. Okay, so Spring is providing one IOC container that is nothing but the application context, and we have different flavors. So if you want to provide the configuration in the XML format, then we have to use this class. Okay, so we need to create the instance for this using new operator. Okay, it will definitely expect the XML file here. So the second thing we need to think, okay, how can we get that? Okay, how can we get that XML file? And where after creating the XML file, where we have to place? If you see this, the name itself, class path. So what is a class path? So in the Maven project, if you want to keep some extra files, some kind of XML files or properties files in the class path, where we will keep? In the resources folder we will keep, right? In the Maven projects resources folder, whatever we keep, it will go into the class path after compilation, right? After building the project, it will get into the class path, right? So in the resources folder we have to keep. What we will do is just we will create one XML file. Okay, what is the name we will give? We can give any name, there is no restriction, but I would follow one naming convention like application context dot XML. That's it. Okay, so I have created one application context XML. So what we have to keep into this? I don't know. As a beginner, I don't know, right? What we have to do is, again we have to approach Google, and we can type what we can type XML documentation Spring, something like this. You can type. So definitely you will get something into the results. Here we have, if you see this, XML schema based configuration. So this XML based configuration, for XML based configuration we have to approach like this. Okay, so we will have a lot of theory here to read and understand. If you have time, if you are interested, you can go through all these things. Okay, so for now in this video, just I will jump to this one section. Okay, so I would choose this one. This is a basic template I would use. Okay, just copy this, I'm pasting here. Okay, so after doing this, here bean definitions will go. So if you observe this beans, what do you mean by bean? Simple, the objects managed by Spring framework are nothing but beans. Okay, the components which are created by, that means the class components, the objects created by Spring, the objects managed by Spring are nothing but beans. Okay, so how would you create? So for that you will have documentation here, how to create beans. Okay, so here if you see, okay, let's create a bean. Okay, so here we have a bean tag. Let's say if you type B and if you click on, see here it is giving suggestions, right? Bean we can select. So this bean tag will take some ID. So this ID is basically the name. Okay, let's say if you see here, you can imagine that this is the ID. Okay, this is the ID. So how, for example, if you want to tell to the container, IOC container or application context, if you want to say that, hey, create an object with some ID, user repository, then how you have to say is using XML configuration. Here we need to give some ID. Okay, so what we can do, you can take this user repository from here, you can paste over here, and you need to give an attribute. Okay, another attribute called class. Okay, in this class you have to give the class name. So how you can give? So you can select like this. For example, fully qualified class name you have to give. So fully qualified class name means what? Starting from the package, right? So where is our repository? It is here, user repository, right? So spring demo dot repository, you can copy this and go to the XML file, copy here, and then the class name you have to give. Okay, so copy this and paste dot this one. So this is how you need to give the fully qualified class name along with the package. Okay, so then when what our application context reads this XML, it will identify, okay, this is a class, and it will create an object for the user repository with this ID. That's it. Okay, so now again, what is the next one? We are done with one object, right? Next we have to come to, so we are done with this line, right? Yes. So what next? User service we have to create. So similarly we have to follow. Okay, so same again, bean tag ID, go to the user service, or go to the test, copy this, paste here, and again the same, go to the user service, copy this package, go to the XML, here again class, okay, dot, next user service class name. That's it. Now if you observe this, this is very important here, you need to inject, right? You need to inject user repository here, right? So how can you do this? Here this is a constructor injection, right? So what we can do is, here inside the bean tag we have one tag called what is the tag is constructor arg. Okay, constructor arg, you can do like this, and here in the constructor arg we will have one attribute called ref. This ref you can take. Okay, so the ref is nothing but the reference. So what is the reference we have to pass? We have to pass the ID of the object. Okay, what you want to inject, basically here you want to inject user repository, right? So here also user repository is here, right? This user repository ID you can copy and paste here. Okay, so what will happen, you know, so the Spring is clever enough that it will identify, okay, user repository is here, then it will use the constructor injection to inject user repository object into the user service object. Okay, so this is how we need to configure. Anyway, we will go in detail in later videos, but this is just an introduction video. Okay, yes, so for now I have converted this into XML like this, right? So now we don't need this, I will just comment it down for now. Okay, now we need to give the XML name here, right? So we have created application context dot XML, right? So I will give like this, application context dot XML. Okay, just do this in the next line. Okay, fine. Now what we need now, we need to get the user service from the container. So now user service is created by whom? Spring container, right? That is application context. We have to get this user service. How can we get this? Simple, user service equals to application context. From the application context we need to retrieve, okay, from the application context we need to retrieve, we have a method called getBean. From this getBean we can retrieve. So here we can pass, what we can pass is, we can pass a class name. Let's say user service dot class. If I give like this, it will give the available bean. Bean is nothing but, you know, right, object only, right? So user service bean, it will give like this. So now user service is ready, and inside it user service, user repository is also there, because we are already telling to Spring container, hey, create user repository and inject into the user service, right? So we are done, right? Let's save it. Okay, so now if you see this, here it is giving some warning, resource leak, right? Application context is never closed. Okay, we will see this, how to close this, but for now you can ignore it. We will see it in later videos. For now this is just an introduction. Okay, Now just run it. Okay, right, see, user repository is created, right? I have added one sysout inside user repository constructor just to understand how it is creating. So first user repository is created, then user service is created, then here we are actually getting the bean, right? User service bean, right? User service object. So actually we are getting all the users and just printing using this, right? Awesome, right? So this is how we need to convert a Java application into Spring application. Okay, so here this is one way of configuring, this is one XML way of configuring, right? So this is how we can configure, but this is not a modern approach, this is a legacy approach. Nowadays people are adopting modern approach only, that's how we will see now. But if you join a project which is already implemented Spring few years back, definitely you will see XML configurations, but it is up to you whether you want to choose XML configuration or some other Java configuration. We will see Java configuration also how we will do. But if you are familiar, if you are comfortable configuring using XML, you can go ahead with this. If you are not comfortable, then you can choose another approach also. What is that approach? We will see now. Okay, so but if you want to use XML, you need to use class path XML application context. Okay, it is easy to remember also. Class path, it is saying that in the class path we need to put the XML file, right? This is basically an application context, right? So this is how we need to proceed now. Okay, so now we will see how we can configure using Java. Okay, this is one way of configuration. You can proceed with this if you like it. Okay, now I will just comment it down there, comment this one. Okay, before this we will do other way of doing, right? So okay, so let's create one class, let's put it in the config package, and what we will do is we will name it as application configuration, let's say. Okay, what we can do is, okay, here we can annotate this total class with some configuration annotation. Okay, let's one annotation called configuration. Okay, we will understand what is this soon. We have to annotate like this. Then what we have to do is we need to create one method. Okay, public. Okay, public, and what is that? You need to create the repository, right? Instead of doing it in XML, we will do it in the Java itself. User repository, right? You need to return user repository. Okay, and you can name this like this. Okay, user repository, and you can return object like this. Okay, and you have to annotate this method with @bean. Okay, so like this. Okay, now we are telling to Spring again, hey, this is a bean, you create like this. Then what it will do, it will call this method to create the user repository object. Okay, this is one way of doing, and another way is, this is one way of doing, other way is XML, right? Yeah, now we have to create what? Again we have to create user service, right? User service, right? And here return new user service, but you need to pass the user repository, right? So what you will do, so you can call this method to create the object, right? So you can pass like this. This is one way of doing it. There is another way that we will discuss soon. Just for now you can do like this. Okay, you can do like this also. Okay, simple, right? Now it is creating this object, and also it is creating this object. Two objects it is creating, right? Good. Now how to pass this configuration? To pass this configuration, what is the approach? So we have one more here. Actually, see, application context.xml file we are passing, right? To read the XML configuration, we are using class path XML application context. So to read a Java class has a configuration, what to do? What is a class? We have another class. What is that class? We will see now. what you can do is you can copy this here. I will just comment this. Okay, we are taking another approach here. New, we have annotation config application context. Okay, this one, annotation config application context. Okay, we use annotations, right? We use annotations and we are using configuration, right, using annotation. So you can remember like this, annotation config application context. This is a modern way. Okay, so what we have to pass, we have to pass that class name. So this class name we have to pass. Okay, pass this dot class. So we will keep this in the next line. Okay. Right, so now this application context the same, get bean, everything is same again. So this is the difference. So this is reading XML configuration, this is reading Java configuration. Okay, so will this work? Definitely it will work. Just run it. Yes, it is working, right? The same way it is working. So we have another implementation, right? Annotation config application context. So we are understanding what are the different types of configurations and different types of application context we have now. Okay, class path we understood, annotation config application context we have. I would like to introduce one more, that is we have one more actually. With the XML only we have one more. So now actually this XML we are storing in, where we are storing within the project, right? Within the project we are storing it some in the class path, right, in the resources folder, right? If you want to store this XML in some place, like in your let's say in your file system, in your Windows, somewhere in the file system. Okay, that also you can do. Okay, for that we have one more class. Okay, let's see that one also. Okay, I will just comment this. I'll take this equals to, that is file system XML application context. So what it will expect? It will expect the file name again from the total path you have to give here. Okay, we will see how we can give that. Okay, what you can do is you can go to some drive. Okay, d colon, I have what I have is I'll go to D drive. So here we have Spring config folder, and here I have kept this here. This I have kept. I can delete this. What I can do is from here I can copy. Okay, I'm just copying this. Right click, copy, and here paste. Okay, I'm doing Control V. Okay, so got pasted. So this one also, from here also I can read. Okay, this is also Spring is allowing this for us. Okay, I can copy like this, and I can same file name, right? I can give like this. That's it. New, right? So this also should work. Actually, where we are storing this application context, in the file system, right? So that's why we call this class as file system XML application context. So this is also there for us if you want to store somewhere in the file system. Okay, you can run it, you will get the same output. Anyway, so this is also one type. Okay, we have other types also, like XML web application context and annotation config web application context. Those we use in the web applications. Those we will discuss when we discuss Spring MVC and Spring Boot projects. Okay, but for now these three, with these three you understood, right, how we can configure application context and ways of configuration, right? These two now we understood. There is one more also. Okay, there is another way of configuring also. So we have we saw two types, right? One is with XML configuration, defining the bean definitions like this. The other way is Java configuration, where we defined application configuration like this, right? There is a third way also, that is annotation-based configuration. We call it as annotation-based configuration. So what is that? Is very simple. instead of defining bean definitions like this or like this in the XML or like this in the configuration Java class, we can directly annotate the classes. Actually, let's say I can annotate this class and I can tell to the Spring container, hey, whenever I annotate this Spring class this class with some annotation, whenever I do annotate this class with some name, annotation name, let's say component. Okay, so component is an annotation provided by Spring. Okay, if you see this, it is a stereotype. So what is this stereotype? What is this component? We will discuss in detail later, but this is just an introduction. So when we annotate like this, what will happen is Spring will detect this class and it will create the object by itself. We no need to configure like this or like this. Okay, so we will see that one also. Just see, I am just annotating the class with @component, here user service, and also I have to annotate here also, right? Excuse me. So component, right? That's it, done, right? Now how will Spring detect this one? We need to tell it that okay, from this particular package you have to scan all the classes with this component annotation. We have to tell to the Spring. How can we tell that? So let's say here we will use the Spring configuration. Let me comment this and let's do the change in the class path. Okay, again I have to import this. Okay, so in the XML what I will do is I won't do like this, I will just comment this out. Okay, now I have to tell to the Spring, from this particular package, from Spring demo, within the Spring demo, whatever the packages are there, wherever whatever the packages are there, whatever the classes are there, just identify all the classes with this annotation and create objects for them. Okay, so like this I have to tell. So we have a special tag for that. Here we can define the tag that looks like something like context component scan. We have to say component scan, means the name itself is saying that, right? Component scan, that means we have to scan the components, and we will have some base packages, some attribute like this, and here we have to give like this. Okay, in the base packages we can give, if you give the package name like this, all the classes within this package, whatever the sub packages are there, it will scan all the classes within this package, and also the classes within the sub packages also it will scan. But this schema is not available. Is this context available? This prefix is not available, right? Because only the beans is available within the bean is available within the beans, but context is not available. So for this we need to again go to the documentation. If you search with some context like this, we have so many, right? Just go down, something like, if you will find something like context schema. So you can see this XML context like this. So what you can do, it has only beans and schema context only, right? You can simply copy this total and you can replace this like this. This will work, right? So the error is gone, right? The error is gone, right? Now okay, we are done. I have removed this, right? I have commented it out, right? So I have annotated the repository with component and user service also with component. So now test it. Okay, now let's test it. Yes, it is giving the output, right? Yes. What does it mean? So this is another way of configuration, right? So which is easy? Definitely we will say this is easy, right? Which one will be easy? Adding the red component is easy, but okay, we have 3 types of configurations, but they will have their own pros and cons. I will make another video distinguishing, I mean the difference, saying the differences between these 3 types of configurations, which is preferable, and what are the pros and cons of all these 3 types of configurations. We will discuss in a separate video. Okay, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Okay, definitely you will get a notification. Okay, right? So what we saw, we saw 3 types of configurations, right? What are the 3 types of configuration? First one is XML-based configuration. So in the XML file we'll define the bean definitions, it will read, right? For that what we have to use? we have to use class path XML application context if you place the XML in the class path. And other one is file system XML application context. For that we need to place the application context file in the file system, right? The other one is what? Java based configuration. We call it as Java based configuration. Why we are calling it as Java based configuration is because we are actually configuring in the Java class, right? Like this. For that, what we are using? Annotation based, like this, right? There is one more, where is that? Yes, annotation config application context we are using, right? The other one is annotation based configuration. Annotation based configuration. So these are three types of configurations we have in Spring Framework. We can opt anything, whatever you choose. They have owned their pros and cons. We will discuss in the upcoming videos. Okay, right? Okay, you may think, okay, I have the same way, like in application context I am using this. Can I do it from the configuration? Because I don't create XML file at all, still I want to use annotations like this. So can I do with application configuration? Yes, you can do it. How? So let's comment it. Okay, and here again we have one more annotation called component scan. The same way in XML how we can do, the same way here we have component scan annotation. It will take some base packages, and here you can pass multiple packages. One package I will pass. Okay, one package, Spring demo, right? Spring demo. That's it. Done. We are done. So now we will do it. I will just comment this one, and if you come here, which one? Yeah, this one, right? We will uncomment it. I will import this again, right? So you can test this, what it is saying. Yeah, you have to come import it, right? Yeah, yes, just run it. It is giving right output. So what does it mean? Without configuring like this, simply we can annotate component scan like this, and we can mention the base packages like this. Okay, awesome, right? So anyway, we have three types of configurations: XML based configuration, Java based configuration, and annotation based configuration. And also it is essential to understand the differences between these three. Okay, anyway, we will discuss that in the next video. This is just an introduction to the application context. Okay, so what type of application context we saw? What types of application context we saw? One is class path XML application context, file system XML application context, and annotation config application context. Three, right? We have two more commonly used. Let's get into the PPT. Okay, we will start that. Okay, if someone asks you what is application context, we can simply say it is basically an IOC container, and it is the central part of the Spring application. It instantiates beans, it configures beans, it assembles beans, it manages beans lifecycle. Bean lifecycle, we will create a separate video to understand how the beans lifecycle is handled by the application context. It is a bean factory. Okay, okay, it is basically a bean factory. When we say bean factory, there is an interface called bean factory, and it has its own implementations. Some of its implementations are deprecated, but bean factory will do few basic things, and application context is the advanced version of bean factory. We will discuss this one also in detail. Okay, what is the difference between this bean factory and application context? So anyway, application context is extending the bean factory interface. Okay, it is a resource loader. It loads the resources like property files or some other files also. Okay, and also it provides some ability to push events to registered event listeners. Okay, it is providing ability to push events to registered event listeners. This also everything we will see in practical throughout the Spring Framework videos. Okay, and also it exposes environment which allows you to resolve properties. This is very, very important we use in Spring applications. This one we will see practically. Okay, and also it integrates with AOP. AOP is a separate concept. We have to understand this. It will give lot of advantages, AOP. Okay, we will create a separate video for this. And also it supports internalization and localization, I18N and I10N. This one also we will see. And also it can be customized and extended. What kind of customizations we can do, and how we can extend. we will see this. Okay, so this is just an introduction to the application context. Okay, and application context types, that's what we saw, right? Class path XML application context we saw, file system XML application context we saw, annotation config application context we saw, and how we can configure also we saw. And these two, XML web application context, annotation config web application context. See, XML web application context, the name itself is saying that it is used in the web applications. Okay, and annotation config web application, here this one also. So in web applications, if you use XML, the web it has to use XML web application context. If you use Java based configuration or annotation based configuration, you can use web application context, that is annotation config web application context. If you see the names here, annotation config application context, here this is annotation config web application context. So because in the web applications we use this. So these two we will be covering in the Spring MVC and Spring Boot videos in clear, how we, while setting up Spring MVC, how we configure these two we will see, but in standalone we will be using these three. Okay, so these are the application context types. So how we can create visa, right? Perfect. Okay, so one more important thing, that let's go to the IDE. So here it was giving some warning, right? Resource leak, right? So it was never closed, but we have to close it. How can we close it? So are we having any methods on it to close it? Let's check that. Okay, at the end of here, CLO, we don't have any close, right? Yep. There is one more, there will be one more, right? Register, shutdown hook, something. These are not there. So if you want to close this, definitely you have to use another interface, because this interface is not providing the way to close this application context. Okay, this application context. So what is that? So there is one more interface called configurable application context. So this is basically an interface which is extending the application context, and it is closable also. It is closable also, right? So this one we have to use if you want to close it. So definitely we have to use this one only, because application context, if you use directly, we cannot close it, right? So that's why it is recommended to use configurable application context. Okay, so you can replace this application context with this. So now you can close this. So how you can close this? Simple. At the end we will have a close method. Anyway, it is offering close method. That close method you can call. Warning has gone, right? Perfect, right? We are closing it. So we open the application context we created, and we are also closing it. When we close it, what will happen? So it will actually destroy all the objects created by it. Okay, and also the recommended way of doing the close is not this. There is another way that we can create a separate thread. Actually, whenever the JVM is shut down, we can close the application context. So in web applications internally, that is the way they will implement. Okay, whenever the JVM is shut down, whenever the server is shut down, automatically it will call one method, one thread actually, to close the application context. That is what we have to do is, on the application context we have one method called register shutdown hook. So what it will do is, it will register a thread, it will create a thread, and that will be called whenever the JVM is shut down. So it will close the application context automatically. This warning won't go, but actually internally it will take care of closing the application context. So this is the preferred way. This statement we can add immediately after this, no problem. Okay, because it is not immediately closing it. Okay, you can run and see. Okay, so this is the preferred way. So this is how we can close application context. Two ways we can close. One is this, other one is calling the close method, right? Perfect. So congratulations. Now you know what is application context, how we can create application context, and you know what are the types of application context we have. Okay, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like. If you have any questions, you can comment, and please share this video with your friends.